left arm just kind of started to feel like it wasn't quite there, and then the numbness kind of like snuck up my fingers and up into my shoulder. And then I'm like, I can't feel my left arm. Well, I can, but I can't. Like, I can still move it. It just doesn't feel quite right. And then the numbness is starting to creep up my right hand. So it started in my fingers, and it's worked up to like the wrist. And then my head just feels heavy.
But other than that, so far so good? Good.
No adverse reaction, which is good because I was a little nervous. After the Reglan and the Topamax and all that stuff. But so far so good. So I'm talking and I'm going and then all of a sudden the Lidocaine, wait, is it a Lidocaine? Yeah.
Lidocaine.
And so all of a sudden it kicks and I go and then I go and my head is so heavy right now. It was just really funny because it was just like talking, timber, clink.
Okay, so Lidocaine Infusion is over, and I gotta say, I'm actually pretty impressed. When I was going in there, I was pretty nervous because I've had some adverse reactions to different medications as of lately, so I've become a little bit gun-shy to the whole idea of new medications. But since I had lidocaine before, I wasn't super worried, but it was more of the unknown of the whole process. So when I went in there, they sent me back to a room and they sat me down in this comfy recliner, and there were pillows all over the place, and they said, you know, has your doctor described what you're going to be doing today? And although he'd gone over a little bit, I did not have the amount of information that I usually come into an appointment with, because usually I'm told by my physician what's going to be happening and I do my own research. But this time around, my physician didn't give me too much information, and when I went online, there really wasn't a whole lot of information either. So when I was doing this, I really didn't know what it was that was going to be happening. So she was really great about explaining to me from beginning to end how it was going to work, what kind of medication they were giving me, how long they were going to keep me, what kind of feelings to expect, any feelings that we shouldn't expect that we should tell her about. The nice thing about it was that, there you go. The nice thing was that I could stop it at any point if I felt that I was uncomfortable or if the symptoms were too strong or any of that. So at the point that I felt comfortable with the process, we went ahead, and so she hooked me up to my IV, which was a combination of saline and the lidocaine, as well as a little like extra bit of saline to flush the line when they needed to. And then they hooked me up to a monitor to make sure they were monitoring my blood pressure and my heart rate. So they were able to do a 3-point EKG line just to make sure that everything is going well, that the heart rate's not going too low, that the blood pressure isn't going too low. And so after I was nice and settled in and had a whole bunch of blankets, they started the line. And at first I didn't really notice anything, but I felt I smelled this weird smell. And a lot of times when they inject saline, I'll smell and taste salt, which is pretty common where they kind of joke, you know, can you smell the ocean? And this smell was similar, but it was different, and which is pretty typical since the lidocaine is in the saline. So after that smell had gone away, I was okay for about 5 minutes, and then I noticed that I was slowly becoming kind of numb in my right arm, where it started at the tip of my fingers and started kind of creeping its way up, and then it went on my other arm, and then my feet, and crawled up my legs and into my head. And at no point did I feel panicked at all, where it was overly numb. It was like it was a change in sensation. I could still move my hands, I could still move my feet, the best way I can describe it is if you're like 2 or 3 hard ciders in, where you're kind of buzzed and you're happy, but you're not falling over, you're not floppy or any of that. So I could definitely tell that my muscles were relaxed, and I felt very relaxed. And it really wasn't too terrible. I wasn't anxious at all, which was nice, because at the point I realized I wasn't going to have any adverse reactions. I was really able to kind of take a deep breath and relax and kind of enjoy being semi-numb. But it actually went pretty well. And I noticed that it was kind of odd, because a part of my body would kind of go, you know, quote unquote numb, and for a while, and then it would kind of wake up and the pain would return, but then the lidocaine would kind of mask it again. And then I would feel pain in a different part of my body that sometimes I usually don't have pain in, and then the lidocaine would cover it up. So it was kind of like flashing Christmas lights. And we were talking about why we thought that was, and I was kind of thinking that it's almost like the pain signals in my body were like cars, and the lidocaine was like a traffic blockade, where the lidocaine was bringing down a traffic blockade, and the car would encounter it and go, oh, I can't go that way, and try to do a detour to kind of get around it. And that's why the pain and the numbness was kind of traveling around, or it was almost kind of trying to cut off the signals as they traveled. So it was very interesting, but it was one of the least traumatic procedures I've ever done, I think. And besides just getting the IV in, it was not painful in any way. At no point did I feel uncomfortable. I was warm, I was comfy, I was relaxed, and the nice thing for me, and the nice thing for anyone with dysautonomia, is that the lidocaine is inside the saline, and then they also have that backup saline bag. So I was actually basically getting a saline infusion with the lidocaine. So it was like I got a infusion without going to the ER. It was the greatest thing ever. And because I got that, the saline infusion with the lidocaine, I'm feeling more awake, I'm feeling more sparky, I'm practically dancing in my chair as we're driving home, and I'm feeling more human than I have in a while. And the nice thing about these injections is that you're actually able to get them every 2 weeks. So we're thinking that maybe our sly way of getting me my IV saline infusions. So we're gonna try to figure that out. But I'm very surprised. Going into this, I was kind of sketched out. I didn't know anything about lidocaine injection or lidocaine infusions. I couldn't find any information on lidocaine infusions, which made it pretty scary. And so the fact that it went so well and without a hitch, and I haven't experienced any bad symptoms or side effects or anything that made me feel uncomfortable in any way, is so nice, because I've encountered so many different procedures over the course of the last couple of years that have just been terrible. So the fact that this helped a lot more than any opioids that I've encountered or taken, and it's not addictive, it doesn't cause damage to your internal organs like opioids. It doesn't have the 2-page long side effects of opioids, and it's about as natural as you can get as far as interactive pain relief. And so I'm pretty happy with the results. I do still feel pain. I still have pain, but my pain level is down, and I noticed that the muscle tension that I have in my body is down. So it seems like even though the pain hasn't gone away, it's definitely tapped it down some. everyone has different effects. Some people say it works for a couple hours. The lidocaine itself will burn off in a couple hours, but they're not entirely sure the mechanism as to why it works. But usually they hear that the pain relieving effects of the infusions usually last a couple days. There's been a couple people who have even claimed that it's worked as long as a month. It really depends on your specific body and your specific body type. But we're going to be talking to my pain management doctor and trying to see kind of how we're going to proceed, whether or not we're going to keep doing the injections and the infusions, and if we're going to do the infusions, how close or how far apart we're going to do them. And hopefully I can basically get him to write a prescription so that I can do the infusions in my hometown instead of driving 5 hours away to get them. I will if I have to, but I would much rather be able to do them more conveniently, and so I don't have to get a hotel and drive down 5 hours and drive back 5 hours every time. My mother was with me. One thing about this lidocaine infusion is that they do tell you do need to have a designated driver, because you can feel a little spacey, maybe a little loopy, or you know, everyone experiences differently. I was feeling very relaxed, but I also knew that like my muscles weren't super tense, so I don't think that I would have the same reaction time as someone who hadn't had the infusion. So you do have to bring a designated driver with you. So I brought my mother, and she pretty much laughed at me the whole time because I would kind of wiggle around and I would tell her, you know, oh, there goes my right leg, oh, there goes my left leg. But she found it funny that I was kind of picking apart my experience like picking apart the science of it and really experiencing it both as a patient but also as someone who works in the medical field. It's fascinating to me. So it was a unique process, but from an observer's point of view, what was your thoughts on the whole idea?
Well, it seemed like it was...
Let's see if I can turn it. Oh, can I? Oh, no, not really.
Nope. All right, I'll stop. It seemed like it was pretty mild. You didn't really seem like you were uncomfortable at any point. If anything, you seemed to be kind of enjoying the process.
Yeah, it was like, honestly, it was almost like waking up from having a really good night's sleep where you're still kind of like melted into your mattress and your muscles are really loose and you're like, I'm never leaving this bed ever.
For me, it was nice knowing when we went in there that they do these often enough that you're actually sitting in a chair, you're not even in the bed. So it's obviously any procedure has risks, but their risks were a lot lower than a lot of the other things that
no kidding.
And the fact that you got the saline and the pain relief at the same time was kind of a nice bonus.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that in a lot of ways when I'm trying to deal with my pain level, I have to choose between tapping down my pain level or working with my NCS, because with my dysautonomia, there's so many pain relieving drugs where their side effects are things such as dizziness, lightheadedness, fainting sometimes, lowering blood pressure, where you either decide to not be in pain or you decide to not be a functional human being. So a lot of times I've gone without taking pain medication because I'd rather, be able to live my life and get things done versus sitting on the couch and not being in as much pain, but being a couch potato, basically.
The nurse did a really good job, I thought, of explaining the procedure so that we absolutely had an idea of what to expect before the procedure started. And I also like the fact that she said pretty specifically, if you see these signs, let me know, and we can either slow it down or turn it off.
Well, and I like the fact that she answered all of our questions, and she didn't.
Before we ever started.
Yeah, before we ever started, and she didn't make us feel like we were asking any stupid questions, which I know I've had happen where they kind of accuse you of not paying attention almost.
Yeah. Or, you know, acting like they're in a hurry and your questions are wasting their time. So she was really, really nice about explaining everything and making sure we were comfortable with it before we got started.
But I think they did a really good job. And honestly, I mean, I was mentally alert the whole time. I didn't feel like I started to get mentally fuzzy or confused at any point. And she actually mentioned, if you feel like you are getting fuzzy and you feel like you can't focus, let me know and we'll slow the rate down, which was really nice. But I thought I was going to be drooling on myself the whole way home, but I am awake and alert. I'm actually feeling more awake than when I got there, surprisingly enough. But I feel awake and alert, and I could probably get something done today, but I'm not, because I actually found a blog, and I'll see if I can find the link and I'll put it down. And you have to keep in mind that each person is different. Each person's pain is different. The pain's in a different place. Everyone's body chemistry is different. But it is good to get different perspectives on this procedure, just so you know kind of an idea of what to expect. But when I was doing my research, I found this person, and they said that they were very confused and they were crying uncontrollably and whatnot. So I think that there may have been problems with how they proceeded with her procedure, as far as giving her too much or not slowing the rate down or any of that. So make sure that you are talking with your provider and making sure that you're on the same playing field, and that they know as soon as something changes if you feel uncomfortable with it. But one of the things she said is, she said, I was feeling great the first, 4 days? 5 days? First 5 days, and then the 6th day I felt terrible. She said, but I got so much done in those 4 days, and I think that's what bit her, was that she wasn't in any pain. So she did all the things, and she cleaned the house, and she did this, and she did that, but she also overdid it, which is something that can happen when you take opioids, where you can't feel the pain, so you don't realize when you've overdid it. So I think one of the important things, if you're ever thinking about getting this procedure, is to make sure that you take it easy for a couple days. And the other thing too is, the more you do, the faster the lidocaine is going to burn off. So I'm not saying be a couch potato, but I'm also saying make sure that you pace yourself. Don't overdo it. Don't decide to clean the entire house all at once because you feel like you can. But yes. Is there anything?
Nope.
Was it funny to to watch me?
Yes.
I have a couple funny things, but I will put them in here for you. And I know that lidocaine infusions are not well known. I know this because I feel that I am pretty well versed in most procedures. I've at least heard of them or have some basis knowledge of them, and even I didn't know about lidocaine infusion. So I would imagine that, as someone who may not work in the medical profession, you would have absolutely no idea, because I didn't either. So if you have any questions on this procedure or how I came about getting the procedure done, let me know. Or if you have any more in-depth questions as far as how I was feeling during the procedure, leave those down in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video.